You and a group of friends decided to take a winter skiing trip to northern Maine. You'd heard all the talk about the snow and the pristine forests and wanted to see it for yourselves. You rented a place in far western Aroostook County, a small log hunting cabin tucked in the woods. Although there was firewood at the cabin, you all wanted to check out the scenery. After bundling up and putting on some cross-country skis, you and your friends set off through the newly fallen snow to enjoy the full majesty of a winter morn. The wind was so cold that it felt like icy needles hitting your skin. Powdery snow flew with the slightest breeze. All around, there were birds chirping, squirrels scampering about, and glistening snow clinging to every surface like a blanket. Then, as soon as you rounded a bend along the river, all sound suddenly stopped. There was an eerie silence that made your blood run ice cold like the river. From the sound of the rushing water, another sound became audible. Low at first, but then gaining strength, intensity, volume, until it became a shrill squeal. You'd never heard anything like it. While curiosity told you to follow it, your good sense overrode and you hightailed it back to the cabin. What was that? Back at the cabin, you found out that one of your friends caught the sound on their phone. You all then decide to run into the town diner for some lunch. Maybe someone in town would know what the sound was. At the diner, you approached a couple of fellas who were drinking coffee. You asked if they knew anything in the woods that made really creepy sounds. The men exchanged curious glances and asked, "What kind of creepy noises?" Your friend brought out his phone and played it, the sounds echoing off the diner walls. All conversation ceased. Everyone in the diner stopped eating, turned around, and stared at your group. The men at the table went pale as a sheet, their eyes wide, and their bottom lips trembled. Where were you when you heard that?" one man asked. You told him. You slowly became aware that there was no noise at all in the diner, and that every patron and every employee were staring at you with the same wide-eyed, terrified expression. You staggered out of the diner, very confused and quite scared. You drove to the cabin and loaded up the expedition. On the drive back to Baltimore, your friend who had recorded the sound looked up the Wendigo on the internet. Naturally, the first question was, what's a Wendigo? Secondly, why did they tell us to grab our stuff and leave? Thirdly, can this thing follow us? Wendigos originate from Native American folklore, mainly Algonquian, as well as the neighboring tribes of Assiniboine, Ojibwe, and Cree. Tales of the Wendigo stretch from the coast of Maine throughout the Great Lakes, as far west as the Rockies, and all points north, well into Canada. Legend depicts the Wendigo as being very tall, up to 15 feet even, with ashy gray skin that reeks of the stench of death. They have large glowing eyes, although some descriptions include eyes that are deeply set in the sockets. Wendigos are almost always depicted as being emaciated, gaunt from near starvation. Some newer descriptions show the Wendigo with the head of a deer, but the older descriptions claim a more humanoid skull with mangled bloody lips and yellow, needle-like teeth. They have very long arms ending in exceptionally sharp claws. The one trait that is universal, however, is a ravenous, insatiable craving for human flesh. Wendigos are cannibals, originating from a time when starvation among Native Americans was a very real and present danger due to the harsh winter climate they inhabited. Wendigos are thought to be the embodiment of the darkest parts of the human spirit. They are synonymous with greed, excess, and gluttony. Algonquian tribes call Wendigos spirits of lonely places, since they are often found deep in the wilderness during the stark winter months. Another translation is an evil spirit that devours mankind. Because of this, wendigos are often represented as demonic spirits with powers over winter weather and storms. It has been said that an angry wendigo can cause the wind to howl and the skies to darken, and can even cause tornadoes and blizzards. Another supernatural power attributed to wendigos is the ability to influence humans and to possess them entirely. They are not the creatures that chase humans for prey. Instead, wendigos isolate humans out in the wilderness and either attack them or possess them. If a wendigo eats a human, the human should consider themselves to be lucky. If the wendigo possesses the human then becomes another wendigo, cursed to roam the land, forever ravenous and craving human flesh. Wendigos do not discriminate. They will eat man, woman, or child. It is also believed that as the wendigo consumes flesh, it grows in size and appetite. Yet, no matter how much it eats, the insatiable hunger will never be satisfied. Anthropologists believe that the wendigo was created after the Native Americans came into contact with Europeans. As mentioned earlier, the Native Americans lived where winters were very hard. Bitter cold, deep snow, and scarce food were all a part of their daily reality. Wendigos can be attributed to survival instincts and preservation of the greater good in the Algonquian mindset. Wendigos are associated with gluttony and greed, two traits that could decimate a tribe in the winter. How? Native Americans would store food for the winter because they knew that food would be scarce. If a member eats more than his or her allotted share, it would be taking food away from someone else. Without enough food, famine and disease could wipe out entire tribes. It is thought that the Wendigo was once a hunter who got stranded, nearly starved to death, and then, to survive, turned to cannibalism. The concept of the Wendigo could have been conjured up by the Native Americans to serve as a warning against gluttony, greed, and excesses of all kinds, but it was for their own survival. In time, the concept could have become real, or it could have become so ingrained in the collective consciousness of the tribes that the legend took on a life of its own. With that being said, the Wendigo is a smooth operator. It chooses its prey very carefully. It's rumored to isolate those that have negative self-destructive natures and plays upon those attributes. Ultimately, it's not very well understood why the Wendigo chooses to eat some and to possess others. Native Americans even had a ceremonial dance to strengthen the warning about the Wendigo. In fact, the word Wendigo can be used to describe anyone who exhibits the traits of gluttony, greed, excess, and even cannibalism. Is there something that can be proven about the existence of the Wendigo, or is it just a myth? Well, most Wendigo sightings were from the 1800s through the 1920s. However, there are some accounts from as far back as 1661 and as recently as 2019. In 2019, experienced hikers were in the wilderness of Canada when they heard a howl that none of them could identify. Native Americans blamed Wendigos on many unnatural disappearances throughout the last few centuries. But while there aren't many who have actually seen a Wendigo and lived to tell about it, there could be some alternative explanations. There is a highly disputed mental disorder called Wendigo psychosis. It is aptly named because the people who have it are supposedly possessed or otherwise influenced by a Wendigo to eat human flesh. There are a few well-documented cases of this happening. In 1661, a Jesuit group told of an encounter with a mysterious ailment that caused men to voraciously attack humans and greedily devour them. Not knowing what caused this strange illness, the affected men were killed to save them from their disease. In 1878, a Cree Indian named Swift Runner worked as a trader with the Hudson's Bay Company. He also worked as a guide for the Northwest Mounted Police. He was married and had 6 children. That winter had been exceptionally harsh, and many Cree of his tribe were starving. His eldest son died of starvation. The strange twist was that food was available at the Hudson's Bay Company post about 25 miles away, but Swift Runner made no attempt to go. As the story went, Swift Runner succumbed to Wendigo psychosis and killed his wife and 5 remaining children. He claimed that he was possessed by a Wendigo, but later confessed to the murders. He was ultimately executed at Fort Saskatchewan. Whether you believe in the Wendigo as a legend, a cryptid, or as a mental illness, the message is all the same. Native Americans have a lot of folklore, but most is based on their survival. In the case of the Wendigo, gluttony could cause widespread devastation, famine, starvation, and death for the entire tribe. Many cultures have similar legends trying to discourage excessive and self-destructive behavior among its people, but few have legends that can eat humans and possess them to become cannibals. Whether real or imagined, the Wendigo is a terrifying creature that can curse you to live out the rest of your life by preying on mankind for its flesh with a ravenous glut of insatiable hunger. It seems that death is the only hope for a Wendigo. My name is Ashley, and I thank you so much for watching. We're a group of curious and passionate humans creating documentary-style content for those who share our curiosity, ask questions, and seek to dig a little bit deeper in a world where almost everything isn't quite what it seems. We are Mystery Syndicate. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, leave a comment, and give this video a like. To be notified when we post new videos, be sure to hit that notification bell. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Patreon. For exclusive merchandise and our blog, visit our website at www.mysterysyndicate.com. Thank you so much again from all of us at Mystery Syndicate. We sincerely appreciate your support.